a couple rounds of severe weather is expected tomorrow and tomorrow night, and then again also Monday afternoon and evening time frame that we will also talk about on this video. But we're going to begin with talking about the morning round of severe weather that's possible tomorrow morning, then again tomorrow evening, and then we will dive into Monday as well. Now, this is a look at future radar on one model for tomorrow morning. A morning complex will likely push through portions of South Dakota, Iowa, and like them areas. We should have maybe a small cluster, pretty intense cluster into South Dakota tomorrow morning. That may produce damaging wind gusts as well of 65 miles an hour or greater. And then a complex may push through Iowa tomorrow and then further east into southern Wisconsin, into Illinois tomorrow afternoon. The main uncertainty is behind it is if we can get fast recovery from the morning round of storms to be able to get storms to redevelop again into the late afternoon, early evening time frame. It does look like we will have pretty late initiation for the second round of storms, and that's mostly due to the morning convection that will allow for a later timing for initiation. Either way, this is at a look about 8 a.m. or so tomorrow morning. We will likely have a complex pushing through Iowa, southern Minnesota, and also into eastern South Dakota at this time that may produce damaging wind gusts. This does not look as strong as it did the other day, but it may still produce damaging wind gusts about 60 miles an hour. I don't really see intense wind gusts with this, but again, it is August anyways, and you can always get these events that produces for winds more than forecasted. So I will still keep an eye on this tomorrow morning. And this is at about midday tomorrow. We will likely have a pretty messy storm mode into Wisconsin at this time, eastern up into southern Minnesota at this time, and also into Illinois. We likely have this complex pushing east and may produce damaging wind gusts, but at this point, it's going to almost be more of a heavy rain threat. Now, the big thing is behind it, as this continues to gradually move east, behind it, can we get enough recovery in the atmosphere for this? I do think we will. It is August. It don't take more than an hour or two to get enough storm fuel on the green is back in place for the next round of storms. Now, this does not have initiation developing until later, towards sunset tomorrow night, but this morning complex will likely put down an outflow boundary for tomorrow afternoon time frame that model guidance will struggle to show at this time. So whatever will show is not exactly what will probably happen, but if this complex does push through Iowa and then further east, we likely have and then right here, you look at the southern tail of the complex, we will likely have an outflow boundary situated in about Chicago area and then draped up into northeast Iowa again, kind of like what happened yesterday. And that's where the outflow boundary will be. So that's where storms will likely initiate into the evening time frame. So we should see storms develop quite fast at late afternoon, early evening tomorrow or so. Now, this model keeps it mostly further east into eastern Illinois, into southeast Wisconsin, but I do think we will get some sort of initiation for the west along the outflow boundary as well. But either way, you can see that storms will fire again in the evening along this outflow boundary. That may produce damaging wind gusts, and there's also a chance for tornadoes. Any storm that can latch onto this outflow boundary and move east southeast may be to produce a tornado. Ahead of this complex tomorrow morning that develops, this is at about 5 a.m. or so tomorrow morning. This complex right now will be along the I-35 corridor. We will have at least some storm fuel in place east of this complex as it pushes east into eastern Iowa and into Illinois as well. And then as we move into about mid-morning tomorrow morning, we will still have at least some storm fuel in place ahead of the complex. But we will have a lot of storm fuel in place where this pretty intense cluster will be into eastern South Dakota at this time. So we have a lot more storm fuel up there that will allow for a more intense cluster to take place. But further south, we should still have enough storm fuel with enough dynamics in place to get a pretty long-lived complex to happen tomorrow morning. Not very high, but still enough. And by tomorrow afternoon and evening, we will have fast recovery in the atmosphere because it's August overall. So we will have extreme storm fuel in place with a rather sharp gradient in the storm fuel and moisture because of this outflow boundary that will sit behind the morning complex of thunderstorms. So with the sharp gradient, we will see storms thrive along this gradient and tap into the very unstable air and get a more localized corridor of directional and low level shear because of the outflow boundary that may allow for a tornado or two to happen as long as the supercells can stay latched onto the outflow boundary and to obviously stay surface space. But that may not be an issue tomorrow as these things look to be more of the southeast movers rather than easterly movers. As we move to Monday now, we will have another gradient set up for Monday afternoon evening time frame as far west as into Iowa area and then further east as well. We will have a pretty capped atmosphere. The further west you go, like western Iowa into Nebraska, will likely stay capped, but further east appears to be pretty uncapped. For Monday afternoon evening, we will likely have another round of severe weather with an all-hazard event possible because any supercells, again, that may ride this gradient and push east-southeast and stay surface space will have a chance to produce tornadoes. Just like what happened yesterday evening up into Waterloo area down into Nolan County, Iowa. There was a few tornadoes that happened. I did chase it. Was able to snake one. It did cause quite a bit of damage into portions of eastern Iowa with multiple tornadoes because the supercell lashed onto this gradient that happened last night, dragged from Waterloo down to Davenport area, Mason City area, and that allowed for surface space storms to happen and pushing out tornadoes because you usually have a more localized corridor of directional and low level shear when you have them outflow boundaries or any type of really boundary warm front that will set up in that area. You can easily get tornadoes. Either way, by Monday afternoon, again, we will have a pretty unstable air mass once again in place to get thunderstorms to thrive. But as you look at by about 1 p.m. or so on Monday, we won't have any storms really in place at that time, which I will show right here. We won't really have too much storms in place at this time, but we are starting to see at least some initiation possible along the I-80 corridor as soon as early afternoon Monday time frame. But it really just depends on when we get that arrival of a shortwave trough movement. We're forcing to get storms to initiate or at least strengthen. And this appears to be pretty stealthy gradient as well. So we'll see if these storms can actually get into the very unstable air mass rather than being on the outside of it. Too, that's another thing. But damaging wind gusts will likely be the main threat on Monday as well. And I can show Monday from a different model that goes out further. It looks like by Monday afternoon, this model doesn't have too much storms, but it does have a pretty late initiation. But it does have a complex or so of thunderstorms along that gradient again into Iowa and into Illinois. So the next couple of days will be over very similar areas for weather. We will have plenty of updates on here on YouTube. We will have more videos over the coming days. And we have plenty of updates on Facebook and our Facebook page, and then also on X. Our X is Midwest Weather. And for a lot of my videos on here, I suggest you subscribe on here. And one last thing, this whole video I have used ZoneWatch, which they have an app, but also the website, zonewatchpro.com. It is a subscription if you want some more advanced features, but they are actually really good, and they're only half the price of any other weather website and app that I have found, and they have very similar features and continue to upgrade, have updates pretty like every week or so as well. So definitely take a look at that. There's a 7-day free trial too.